Reno Tarakatni.
Okay. Kia ora, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to speak at this final reading of these two bills in relation to the Joint Border Management System. Sir, we've heard the government assert that the Joint Border Management System and the Trade Single Window, everything's running to plan, everything's going honky-dory, nothing to see here. Just like what they did with the Kohanga Reo, nothing to see. Everything's going to be functioning properly. And that's the thing with information technology or computer terms, sir. They're very sort of harmless and benign. Trade single window. No one really knows what that means. We know that we've seen a working demonstration, but when you actually when you get to IT systems, it's really, unless you are a IT whiz, no one really knows what trade single window is and what is actually behind the system, what actually is driving it, what its functionality is. And so, sir, we've got the government here who are saying that, yes, we have this trade single window system. We have paid $90 million. It was an original $76 million system that we wanted to build. We engaged IBM, a major international multinational corporate, to deliver this. And then, sir, it gets a bit hazy because the time frames change, the budget changes. They had to seek cabinet approval again for an increase, and so the budget has grown to some $90 million for delivering of this system, sir. But we don't really know what the system is, and really only those technically minded people will know. But what we have gleaned from the government, sir, is that all is not well with the trade single window system, because we have heard from the minister at the committee stage how that there were issues around the systems and the testings, and modules were still to be finalised. There was more testing that needed to be taken place, extra functionality, and there were issues around the scope of changes. So all this language around, we're not quite sure. We haven't really delivered what we thought was going to be delivered. But all the while, sir, the money is being used up. So you can guarantee that that $90 million has been all spent by, as we see from the Customs responses to the financial review to the Select Committee, $90 million project, tens of millions of dollars has been going, $40 million to IBM, and a host of hundreds of, literally tens, nearly 100 of consultants, contractors, IT firms who have all been nibbling away at this $90 million, and we still don't know whether the trade single window is fully functional, has actually delivered on what was what they were contractually obliged to deliver. And so I think we here on this side of the House haven't had the comfort from the minister that they actually have delivered on the job. In fact, sir, I actually sense that when you're in these contractual arrangements with IT firms, they can get very sticky, because we're talking big bickies and we are talking about big, powerful companies. And I wonder whether the tail is wagging the dog on this, sir. I wonder whether IBM actually is playing hardball with Customs and actually saying, hey, we have delivered what we believe you wanted us to deliver, or if there have been problems, let's change the wording, let's change the language around this module or the functionality type technical terms that we're delivering on. And so it will be interesting, because this tranche one of the JBMS was, according to Customs responses to the Select Committee, was to be complete, estimated completion date June this year. So that's the end point. Now we hear that, it's not so much, it's a fluid project. There's no end point. There's still some functionality that we're still testing that still needs to come through. And so, as Mr. Hayes said, it's a work in progress. Well, he didn't actually say that, sir, but that's the words to the effect from the government, that it hasn't got an end point, even though the actual budget which has been approved for this project and the stated delivery time is in June this year. I mention that, sir, because we really are in the dark in terms of how this system is delivering, whether all of the contracted functionalities in the build of this system have been actually delivered. But certainly we know that if there is a dispute, that IBM is a company that will definitely want to make sure that they're not going to be doing any more work than they are. Well, they'll definitely demand that they'll be paid for it. And therefore, we've seen the budget blow up to $90 million, sir. We haven't seen anything around Tranche 2, but what we really would like to see is the formal evaluation of the system, the evaluation of Tranche 1. And that, we understand, is due in June this year and to Cabinet. But it will be interesting because no proposals, no costings, no scope of work has been provided for Tranche 2, because, sir, they haven't been able to really adequately deliver on Tranche 1. And so we definitely need to see that evaluation. I know that there has been multiple layers of project teams, governance boards. It's, from a project management point of view, I guess, Customs has done its best to put great systems and checks and balances in place. But ultimately, the rubber meets the road when it comes to, has the trade single window delivered on all the functionality within time and within budget as was contracted, as they had contracted to deliver. And so we are very sceptical on this side, sir, because based on the language from the Minister and also the information that has come to hand through my colleague, Mr. Shearer, it seems that there are problems with this system. And what we don't want to see, sir, is another overpay, another INSIS type scenario where we get a huge waste or a huge fight with a multinational company to try and seek some accountability for the failure of those companies or that company to deliver on what they've been contracted to deliver. Because, sir, I recall these words. We know that the Joint Border Management System is a great concept. It came out of the last Labor government, and we have supported it all the way through. It's the implementation that we have had real concerns about. And I do remember, because trade is the lifeblood, as we all know, for our country and our economy. And so we need efficient streamlining of our border processes, and Customs does play a very key and a very creditable role. I must commend the Comptroller of Customs. I had not known what Comptroller meant, but I understand it is a term that comes from way back in time. The Comptroller of Customs, Carolyn Tremaine and her team, because they do a great job on that front, sir. But I do recall these words from the Minister at the Select Committee, that if there was a major problem with the JBMS, with the trade single window, which was impacting on our trade across our borders, he would take the first flight to the Bahamas, sir. Well, we will have to wait and see whether that does transpire, because if there are problems with this, I know that we on this side of the House would all too happily gladly see that Minister take a trip to the Bahamas. But aside from that, sir, and aside from those concerns, we do commend this overall system, and we commend this legislation to the House.
Simon O'Connor.
Mr Speaker, the last member to talk was saying that he was a bit in the dark, or the Labor Party is a bit in the dark.